What does the word gutsy mean to you?
The word gutsy to me is just like recognizing that, sorry, this is going to get super odd for a second. I told my wife this on our wedding vows. My wife reminds me that how special it is that we get to come alive and experience the universe for this brief moment in time, right? And our atoms, the nitrogen in us, the carbon, the oxygen, like all these atoms have combined in this particular order to, at this one moment where you're for 80 years, you're able to experience the universe in like an intelligent way that is a human being. And your atoms then go somewhere else. Some of them go into your children, right? And then you reincarnate literally into your kids and you live on, right? You're a never-ending string of life. You've been alive for 3.8 billion years. You've never not been dead since life existed on Earth. You're always the creature that won for the last, several billion years. And that's beautiful. At the same time, who you are right now will completely dissipate and disappear one day, and your atoms will go somewhere else, and they go into the trees, and they'll go into the grass, and they'll go into other animals, into the water, into the rivers, into the oceans, and they'll recycle and they'll recombine somewhere else. So I think being gutsy is about recognizing that you have this one opportunity to do something and you can just do things. And I know that that's kind of like a weird trigger thing for like the bros in Silicon Valley about like taking control over the world, but like no, you can just do things and live your life the way that you want to. There are no rules. The beautiful thing about the society we built is that you can have all the ambiguity that you want and you get to decide how you live your life. People who are gutsy are people who live their fucking lives the way that they want to, and they're not going to live and die by somebody else's shitty rules that they were born into. And you can do whatever you want. And people who realize that are gutsy.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. What if building a successful business doesn't actually have to be so complicated? This week on the Gutsy Podcast, I'm joined by Colin McIntosh, who is the CEO of Sheets and Giggles, a sustainable bedding brand, who got fired from several jobs and then scaled his brand to $1 million sales month in less than 2 years, all while keeping things simple and low risk. He's proof that you don't have to grind 24/7, take huge risks, or even reinvent the wheel to build a thriving business. Instead, you're going to hear what to actually focus on that moves the needle, how to simplify your business model, and how to create real impact while making real money. If you've been looking for a smarter and easier way to grow your business, then my friend, this episode is for you. Sheets and Giggles is a sustainable bedding brand known for its award-winning eucalyptus sheets and has been featured on Good Morning America and named Best Overall by Good Housekeeping. Since launching in 2019, he's raised over $5 million in venture capital, scaled to $1 million monthly sales, and shipped hundreds of thousands of units around the world. This might be my favorite part, though. Beyond the business, he's donated over $250,000 to charity and created jobs for formerly incarcerated Coloradans. And this guy's not stopping here, my friends. He's got 2 other companies that he has launched and grown as well. You're in for a real treat, so grab some pen and paper, your favorite cup of coffee, and let's get into it. Hey, Colin, welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Hey, Laura, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Listen, you reached out to me and I was like, this dude knows what he's doing. You have built several, not one, not two, but 3 very successful businesses, some with some great transitions that are happening right now. I just think that you've got some great wisdom to share with us. So I'm happy to have you today.
Thanks, Laura. I appreciate you having me on. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to talk. I've been listening to you for a while now, so it's great to be on.
Thank you. So I know that there is a backstory before all of this success and this whole journey has happened. So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. What's led you to where you are right now?
I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, I was a terrible employee. So before I started my first company when I was 27, I got fired or laid off like three times at my first three stops. So, so quick backstory, I grew up in South Florida. I left to go to college at Emory University in Atlanta. I ended up studying economics and finance there, business law. And then I went to the world's largest hedge fund. I graduated in 2012, and I worked at Bridgewater Associates in Connecticut. And I got fired in like 5 months. And so I always say that's proof positive that I'm not an asshole, that I didn't last long there. No offense to the fine folks at Bridgewater, please don't come after me. And then I ended up becoming a recruiter. So ironically, I became a recruiter at the company that hired me there, at the third party agency that recruited me. I loved recruiting, just became obsessed with it. Adored helping people find new jobs. And then I was so good at it, in fact, that I actually hired myself at one of my startup clients in Seattle. So I moved out to Seattle. Um, and then you'll actually like how this job ended. So about 10 months later, I guess I didn't fully understand the person I was going to go work for. I was 24, I was very brash, and the CEO had had some problematic behavior over and over again. And he at one point insulted a female candidate that I had sent him for a job and insulted her, I think, in a very gross way. And I said, look, man, if you think that I'm going to recruit for you when you talk about my candidates like this, you can go fuck yourself.
Yes.
And I got fired that Sunday.
That's fantastic. What a fantastic way to go. Thank you for being an advocate.
Yeah, that was Friday, and I'd never made it back to the office. And then so then from there, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I was doing, and then my friend Jackie, God bless her, called me. I was 25, and she said we got into her company that she had started had gotten into Techstars. For those that are familiar, it's an accelerator that gives you $100,000. They put you in a room with nine other companies. They let you go crazy for 3 months, work on your idea, and then present it on stage at demo day at the end of the semester, or whatever you want to call it. And so I dropped what I was doing. I drove 19 hours down from Seattle to Boulder, and I made $1,600 a month for 3 months as head of biz dev for the company in its very early stages. We ended up raising a few $1 million. We hired 30 people in downtown Denver. And then after launching that product in multiple retail chains, Brookstone, Target, Best Buy, all across the country, we unfortunately all got laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday in September 2017. I remember the day, it was September 25th, 2017. Major heartbreak. I had poured my heart and soul into that company. And then what do you do when you get laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday? You go get drunk with your coworkers. So that's
Naturally.
exactly what we did. And I was telling them, I'm like, I got this idea for a bed sheets company, and it's going to be called Sheets and Giggles. And I was three sheets to the wind at that point, so they were like, okay, sure, that sounds very interesting. And sure enough, 3 weeks later, I incorporated the business, and a year to the day that I got laid off on September 24th, 2018, I won first place at Denver Startup Week for Sheets and Giggles. So it was a very fun, first year in business. And then 2 years later, in November 2020, we had our first $1 million sales month. So it was a very meteoric first couple of years in business with my own company.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's why I asked this question because it's so easy to look at the snapshot of right now without seeing everything that it took to get to it, right? And you've had, I mean, just incredible success. I have to ask though, like, why bed sheets? Like, like where did that passion, where did that interest come from?
It's a dumb answer. I've got so a lot of founders will tell you like a really like personal, deep answer to the question like this. Like, I had this problem and this solution came to me and it just was so I was watching War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill, and it's like a 6 out of 10 movie. It's fine. It's good. Maybe a 7. It's good. It's funny. And Miles Teller's character is like selling bed sheets as part of his job in the beginning of the movie. He's trying to like be an entrepreneur, and he's failing. No one's buying the sheets, and he ends up burning all the inventory like halfway through the movie, and it's like this big transition scene where he's like a full-time weapons dealer at that point. He burns the bed sheets, and I turned to my ex-girlfriend, probably an ex because I'm neurotic like this, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. He didn't do any go-to-market research. He had no idea who his core customer was. He doesn't understand his demographics. You know what? Pause the movie." And I wrote I wrote a business plan for a bed sheets company that night. And whenever I write a business plan, I always buy a domain so it becomes a little bit more real. And I always think, what's a funny name for blank? And I thought, what's a funny name for a bed sheets company? And Sheets and Giggles just popped into my head like that. And that was probably like 3 or 4 months before I incorporated. And I kept thinking about it. And I just slowly became more obsessed with this brand idea, and so I love that the company, we're like the Seinfeld of brands, like we're a brand about nothing. I love that the company came from something so ridiculous like that. And, and truth be told, like there is a lot of strategy behind it. Like when I got laid off, I was looking for the perfect company for me, and I just spent a few years in consumer brands at retail, not direct to consumer. And so I really wanted my own consumer brand that was in a sustainable space that I could bring online with a direct to consumer model that was mostly physical retail, that, had no brand differentiation, no loyalty. So I could, really zig where everybody else was zagging from a brand voice perspective. And when I kept looking at all the domains I own and ideas I had, Sheets and Giggles was just total bullseye for all my different criteria.
It just
So I
hit the
did.
mark in
Dumb,
every
dumb founder
direction.
story. Bad, stupid.
I think that's kind of the charm behind it, right? The yes, a good deep motivational story is cool, but something silly like this too is I think just as equally as cool.
It's at
So
least nice to change your pace. At
it's a
least.
conversation starter, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you shared a quote with me that I thought was really cool, and we're talking about starting a business, right? I mean, it's nerve wracking. I don't care who you are, you're taking a risk, right? It's a gutsy move in its own. But in your advice that you shared with me is you said start a business. It's not as scary as you think. Your worst case scenario is likely the one that you're living right now. Tell me what you mean by that, because I found that pretty fascinating.
To me, that unlocks the courage to start your own company. Is if you're someone who's like, 30 years old, 40 years old, like any age, right? And you have a job and you're good at that job and you've been doing that job for a number of years, you're in a privileged position to the point of like, if you start a company, and you should have heuristics that like let you know if your company is going to be successful or not. So like the first 6 months, you should set up certain metrics so you can tell yourself if it's going in the right direction. The next 12 months, is this going in the right direction? And in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, if it's not working out, you can just go back to doing what you're really good at. And so I think that it's a privileged position. Not everybody has this, but for those that do, if you realize that your worst case scenario is your current case scenario, that I think really unlocks the ability to just go for it, because like there's no risk to starting a company other than you'll lose a little bit of income. You might get into a little bit of credit card debt, or you might embarrass yourself a little bit on social media or whatever. But then if it fails, that's okay. And part of this also in this same bubble of advice is don't make your company your entire personality. And I think that if the company fails, it'll be easier to move on and walk away a lot more than if it becomes your entire identity online and in person. Have varied interests, have hobbies, do other things, have great, strong personal relationships. Don't only talk about business with your friends. And then that way, in 6, 12, 18 months, if it's not working out, just go back to the job that you love, that you were doing great at. And, there's really, really the only thing that you're gonna um, lose is the constant wondering of could I make it on my own, which is I think drives people insane more than anything else. So answer that question and go do it. But yeah, that's what I mean by that.
Oh, I love that. the constant wonder if I could do
Uh,
it. Oh, it's
uh,
it's soul sucking. You just
yeah,
you when you could be daydreaming about what's next, you're daydreaming about what if, right?
yeah,
And when you give yourself the opportunity to make that move and try, the other thing too is, there's you don't have to flip the switch or flip over the table, right? You don't have to quit today and start the business tomorrow, right? There's kind of a seesaw effect that can happen. You can start building the
totally.
business while you're still at your job. Like you can build in some safety so that you're not, basically standing naked on stage, or what it feels like anyway.
It's probably the ADHD in me, but there's always more hours in the day. You can always do more things. Like I have found the time in my spare time to start this side, passion project where I've got like a little AI resume review service that I use my recruiting experience for. And I'm helping like thousands of people a month rewrite their resume and do mock interviews and find new jobs. And that's just on top of, it's just like when it's 10 o'clock at night and I can't sleep and I get this burst of creative energy, I just go do this stuff. So, I don't know. I think everyone should figure out what their superpower is or what they're best in the world at. Honestly, it's one of the things I respect the most about entrepreneurs who don't have that safety net, people who are like maybe, first generation college grads or have no, familial support system or, maybe haven't had that stable career who like go for it when they're really young or like those people are intense. Like I really respect the hell out of people that like really take a risk like that. But I think for the majority of us, like there is a fallback option. Your fallback option is your current thing.
Right. Absolutely. So you've started several businesses now at this point.
Yeah.
What's kind of your personal blueprint to get that business going off the ground? What are some of your first steps that you do or recommend?
So I always try to advise people to do things at first that don't cost any money because I think that the major mistake that people make is they spend a ton of money on building a thing because while they're building a thing, no one can tell them that it's bad. The market can't reject them, investors can't reject them, their friends and family can't reject the idea. They just build a thing, and in their brain, it's going to be great. And the market's going to love it, and everybody's going to go nuts for it, and it's going to be an overnight success. That's the worst way to do it, is to just go out and build inventory or build the software product and then see if people react to it. What you want to do is probably three major things that I always recommend. The first is make it real by building a brand identity map. And this is always the first thing that I really like to do because you start with the brand name, then you go into the trademark lines, then you do the positioning statements. There's actually a great, I won't go through all the different pieces of it, but if people Google Techstars brand identity map. There's a terrific brand identity map template that's a one pager. It takes a few hours to do, and you'll be able to say, like, exactly how your brand should speak to people and how it sounds. And that brings it to life, right? Then the next day, I would probably do a business plan. So a little two pager, take that brand identity map and turn it into these are our points of differentiation, these are our go to market channels. These are the product points, the value propositions, our calendar, our timeline, our go-to-market speed. So build a little business plan so that way you can send that to people and say, does this make sense to you? And then the third thing you should do is do a financial model. And there's a really nice template for a financial model on Startup Rocket. So if you Google financial model Startup Rocket, there's a really nice basic financial model that you can see, okay, if I charge this and I spend this and here are my fixed costs, does this make sense to start as a company? Where's my break even? So those are the three things I would recommend. It's very, very cheap or free to do those things, just cost time and you can build this like really inner gut of a business and see if it like makes sense. And then I'd probably from there start validating the idea. And the way that I do that, I've done that in multiple different ways in my businesses. Um, for it was Sheets and Giggles. What I did was I set up a landing page where I promised them what I was going to be building, and then I started running Facebook ads to let these people know like about Sheets and Giggles. It's made out of eucalyptus instead of cotton. It's softer than cotton, has a lower coefficient of friction, very breathable, very cooling, sustainable, eco-friendly. And you're going to be able to get it at the best price you'll ever get it on May 1st when we launch our Indiegogo, right? Give them a date, time of action, like something to look forward to. And then just give me your email, right? Sign up for our email list. Then you have to nurture those emails, but that's another conversation. But that is very simple. You can set up a Facebook ad to target certain people that are into new products, send them to a landing page, collect their emails, and you can see how much it's costing you with your first several $100s to collect an email, right? And if you're trying to do the math and work backwards from, let's say you're trying to do a crowdfunding campaign and you want to do $100,000 of crowdfunding, you have to make about $30,000 on your first day, about 30%. And if you're going to do a $100 AOV at $30,000, that's 300 customers on day one. And all your customers are going to come from your email list. An email list reasonably converts at about 3%. So if you need 300 customers on day one, you need 10,000 emails to get that. And if you need 10,000 emails, then that should be your only focus as you start building your company and going from that 0 to 1 stage. And so once you start setting up your landing pages and you start sending people to them, collecting emails, you should start dialing in like a cost per email. Maybe it's $1, maybe it's 50 cents, maybe it's $2. Then you can back that cost into, okay, if 3% of my emails convert, how much money am I going to be making? Is it going to be worth this initial investment in getting these emails? And you can start to put that cost of acquisition into your financial model. So these are a bunch of the things I would do to start. And at this point in the conversation, we've only spent maybe $400 or $500. And that's how I would start to validate an idea.
Okay. And so by validating the idea, what you're saying is we're trying to see if there's an interest in this thing.
If there, yes, go sell something before you make it. Go sell and selling it can mean a bunch of different things. Literally taking money for pre-orders. It can mean just collecting emails from people who want to sign up for an alpha user list. It could mean scheduling customer discovery calls with people and saying, "Hey, I just want your opinion on what I'm building, and I really want your feedback." And listening to them talk about your idea while you're on the phone with them. It could mean sending out a Google Forms survey to your email list and asking them how they want to build a product, what they want to see in it, what price they want to pay, where they expect to buy it, all those different things. Or it can be something lower scale. So, for example, in my AI resume review service, for folks that need a resume review, it's sheetsresume.com. Really dumb brand name. Everybody calls me the Sheets guy. So everything I do in life from now on is everything's the Sheets stuff. So I'm the Sheets guy. So sheetsresume.com. And what I did with that was I just started doing one-on-one resume reviews for people to see if I still had it as a former recruiter and to see if I could still help people with this. And then I started getting a lot of word of mouth, a lot of traction on Reddit, a lot of people, reaching out to me about resume reviews. I would leave comments telling people what was wrong with their resume, and then they would follow up with me and they'd ask me for help. And then, I started getting so many people asking me for resume reviews. I didn't have the time. I mean, I'm running Sheets and Giggles. I just had maybe a few hours a week to do this for people. So that's when I called my buddy Nate and I said, "Hey, let's build an AI wrapper around this." And we, started to build around it. And then we gave that away for free for some period of time, maybe a month. And then that generated a bunch of use and a bunch of word of mouth about the AI resume builder. And, 6 months later, it's, doing tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. It's pretty crazy already. So those are the type of things I would do to get started. And with Sheets and Giggles, we ended up doing that exact playbook I mentioned earlier with the crowdfunding, and we raised $284,000 in crowdfunding pre-orders, which was the largest Indiegogo ever for the sleep category at that point. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, that is very cool. So I like this concept because, like you mentioned earlier, there is this kind of mindset or focus, have you, that you have to do the whole thing, build the whole thing, and then
Yeah.
take the whole thing to market. Whereas this
Ooh.
actually this lowers your risk, right? This
Oh
this
yeah.
lowers your investment, it lowers your time, you're being more strategic because this allows you to say like, hey, there's an interest, people are jumping on board, or hey, it's kind of crickets. So I'm kind of curious in that position, what would you do if you're not getting those conversions, if you're not getting the signups, if you're not getting people raising their hand? Is that a product issue or is that a messaging issue? Or, I mean, it could be both.
It's a great question. It's probably both. I mean, like it's always a little bit of column A, a little bit of B, but like, I had somebody, God bless them, they had bought $50,000 of inventory of this little invention for the car. I I maybe it'll be successful one day. It was a little box to put your used tissues specifically, and it was just like it strapped onto the seat belt, and then you'd use a tissue and you'd like tuck it in, and I was like, what? I was like, you built 50, how many units is that? And they were like, it's like, 10,000 units of this or whatever. And I was like, yeah, so you building something right away is like very risky. And so doing any like, or going like people love to do a patent because in America, we teach people all about patents when they're younger. Oh, I wish I had the patent for that. Oh, like you need a patent for your invention. Patents are worthless. Patents are a signal that you're ready to sue somebody if they do your idea, right? Patents are just like a setup for legal costs. So for 99% of people, a patent is not appropriate to do before they go out and validate the market. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that if you're not getting traction, you have to do some soul searching and decide, okay, is my product being rejected? Is my brand poor? Do I need to redo my brand archetype? Do I need to redo my brand identity map? How am I speaking to people? And maybe you can ask people, if you do have an email list, you could still do a survey to those folks and say, hey, what is resonating, what's not resonating? Leave an open-ended question. People love giving their advice and feedback, and people love being asked for it. So if you shoot an email out to 100 people and say, hey, I could really use your feedback on this brand that I'm building, I guarantee you're probably going to get like 30 or 40 responses from that email list. And they're going to be really good and qualitative and thoughtful, and you should read through those responses. And so I think that you just have to do some soul searching, figure out what you think the problem is. And if you're really convinced you've got an absolutely killer product and people are using it and loving it, or you're using it and loving it, then maybe it's a branding problem. And not everybody has that brand muscle. So there's multiple ways to get better at branding, but you may have to hire someone to lead that part of your business for you, or find a co-founder who has that skill.
Right. What are maybe like one or two things that they might consider that the listener might consider when they're looking at their branding to see like, hey, what might need to be refined or better defined?
So the brand voice in the beginning is always the founder's voice. It's why I have to start brands that are gesture archetypes. That's who I am. Like I can't start a company that is like a sage. I guess I could do sage. I like educating people. Like I probably couldn't do like a I'm trying to think. Look, there's outlaw, there's jester, there's sage, there's the inventor, there's the everyman, there's the romantic, there's the explorer, the hero, the magician, the caretaker. There's like 12 brand archetypes. I just went through 10 of them. And, like I struggle with like caretaker. I struggle a little bit with like magician or hero. I struggle a little bit with so you have to figure out and do your research as to brand archetypes. And you have to say, okay, who am I? What am I? And what fits this product or this service that I'm providing? And I'm telling you, 99 times out of 100, whatever archetype you are as a person, that's going to be your brand voice because you can write the most authentic copy and create the most authentic videos, do the most authentic photo shoots, and it's going to be cohesive if you pick a brand archetype that fits your personality. If you try to be something you're not, if you try to be funny and you're not funny, or if you try to be an outlaw but you're not good at like being an asshole, or like you try or you try to be like a sage but like you really couldn't care, like with Sheets and Giggles is a great example. It's eucalyptus bed sheets. They're softer than cotton. It's very easy, right? It's sustainable. It's eco-friendly. It's breathable. I don't feel a need or a compelling desire to educate people on the product. People who want to know more can go learn more. For me, I'm about making them laugh and I'm about holding their attention with laughter. And so I can't do a Sage brand for this business where I'm like, oh, and the lyocell comes from the wood pulp and we use amine oxide and we recapture and reuse 99.5% of the chemicals in every batch. And, from there we turn it into a yarn. It bores me when I talk about it, right? And if it bores me, I'm going to bore people when I talk about it. I just want to make them laugh, have a good time, tell them if they don't love the sheets, they can send them back to us, no sweat. We have an automated returns portal, yada yada. And make a joke about no sweat and how, there's also no sweat in our sheets and you'll have no sleepless nights. So that's my major tip is like choose your brand voice and your brand archetype that you are as a person, and your brand will be the best parts of you without any of the worst parts. And we all have our worst parts.
Yeah, I back this up 110% because I always say that everything gets to be easier. And I always find myself to be more successful and happier when I just allow myself to be myself.
Yeah.
I can always tell when I start going off the rails here or there, right? Like I just started speaking to corporate companies, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, corporate, I need to like button it up. I need to tie it up. I need to be a little bit. And I'm
No.
like, no, Laura, back center. Right. It would be like if all of a sudden the Gutsy podcast was like corporate lingo, professional science, like people would be like, the fuck is she doing right now?
They also there's a million of those people, and there's
Yes.
one of you. And that's the
Yes.
thing is like if you are trying to be something you're not, everyone can sense that.
The number one thing that stops people from moving forward, breaking free, and experiencing actual happiness and success, it's not time, it's not money, it's not responsibilities, it's themselves. After continuously talking myself out of my great ideas and doubting my abilities, I thought, you know what? There's got to be another solution to this madness. So I dug my way out of this. I created a formula, and now I'm teaching you how to get out of your own way. If you go to lauraora.com/foundations and put in your email address, I'm going to send you this very simplified method that's going to help you cut through the noise and break free from those thoughts that are talking you out of all those great things. Because listen, if you can't stop thinking about it, don't stop working for it. And sometimes all you need is the tools and the encouragement to make a difference. I'm ready to teach you this method, and all you got to do is sign up for it. So go to the link in the show notes, or again, go to lauraora.com/foundations, put in your email, and I'll start sending it to you right away. You feel it, they feel it, and also the resistance to doing the work and showing up.
Oh, yes,
The gap just gets big. Like I'll put it off. You procrastinate. Like you don't want to do the work. It's miserable.
you just nailed such an important point that if you don't have a brand that you love, or you don't have something you're working on that you actually love and enjoy, you're going to burn out, and you're going to burn out very quickly because it feels like a chore. It feels like you're putting on a mask, like you're like pretending to be something you're not. That's why people hate commuting, by the way. That people hate commuting not because of the distance or the traffic. They hate commuting, this is just my personal theory, because for 30 minutes they're slowly becoming someone that they're not, right?
Mm.
And then for 8 hours, they have to pretend to be that other person. And then that's why the commute home doesn't feel long at all. The commute home feels easy and great, even if it's the same traffic in rush hour, because you're lifting the mask and you're becoming yourself again when you get home. So the greatest gift about entrepreneurship and the greatest gift about building a brand that reflects your personal identity is that you get to be yourself all the time. I am this person, Colin, with my employees, with my coworkers, with my investors, with my family, with my wife, with my resume business, with my advertisements for Sheets and Giggles. It's just such a gift to give to yourself and so don't weaken it by trying to you know, um, be somebody you're not, or elevate yourself, or whatever you think you need to be to start a business. Just be yourself, and like be maximum yourself.
Everything gets so much easier. Oh my gosh. I learned that the hard way. And once I started doing it, I'm like, no turning back. And like I said, when you start to feel yourself kind of veering one way or the other, it becomes so evident, like energetically, emotionally, spiritually, like you can just tell. What are some other early mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making that we might be able to chat about and say, hey, red light, turn around, go the other way?
um, I mean, look, there's a ton of mistakes you can make early on. I think about the mistakes that I made early on. You know, I don't think I fully understood my product. So that's actually a big weakness that I had is like I was going into this industry totally cold. And so not getting mentorship and not getting, I did get good mentorship. I did have people in the fabric space and people in the sheeting space that were advising me. I had to kind of brute force those relationships and like reach out to a bunch of people and ask to take them to lunch and buy them beers and get them to, give me some advice and hop on the phone with me every now and then. Um, One of them became my director of product, worked with me for 6 years. So that was pretty cool. But like that, I think that that's a really good one is like if you don't know what you're doing, you have to get mentorship and you can't just be on an island trying to like, read the best advice online or listen to YouTube videos or like go through things in your head to circularly. You have to take somebody out to lunch and sit across from them, take up the check and ask them like every single question you have. Don't be afraid if it's a stupid question. I love doing this. There's a girl, I think she's 21, she's a woman, but she, like she's a student named Fabian who I love advising. She reached out. I did a lecture at her business school class, and out of all of her business school students, she's the only one who followed up with me and asked to buy me breakfast. So she got great instincts. So she took me out for breakfast. Uh, we started talking about her coffee company. It's Ethiopian coffee. It's unbelievable. It's like the best coffee you'll ever have. Right now, I'm advertising it for her. She asked me at that breakfast, "Hey, can I take you out for breakfast again next week?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm always happy to have it for you." That's the life hack for an early investor or early founder. Everybody likes a free breakfast. Everybody likes a free lunch. And so if you can take these people out and pick their ear, now eventually she asked me, "Hey, can I hop on the phone with you once a week and get your advice?" And I said, "Absolutely." Because now I like her. Now I want her to succeed. Now I'm invested in her story. And so, that type of mentor relationship is, I think people think it's really hard to come by, when in reality, you just got to be nice to people and ask them for their time, be respectful of it. And so that's my number one thing is get mentorship. Um, and then I think that founders, another mistake people make is like they try to hire people. It's kind of counterintuitive with what I just said, but like they try to hire people too fast because maybe they don't know a problem or they don't understand a function. And so they try to hire their way out of a problem. I saw this a lot with my old company. But if you try to hire your way out of a problem that you don't fully understand, you're going to wind up hiring someone who also doesn't fully understand how to get out of that problem because people hire people who are like themselves. That's like a core recruiting value, by the way, is people hire people who are like themselves. So that goes down to everything, their personality traits, what they look like, what they sound like, what they think, how they think, their expertise. So put people in charge of hiring who deeply understand the department or the problem that they're hiring for. And if you're a founder who's never done something and you don't know how to do a function, you're absolutely going to hire the wrong person. So go do that function yourself, brute force it, make mistakes, take twice as long as it should to get the thing done. And then in like 2 or 3 months of doing that thing, like I shipped 4,000 boxes by myself when I started this company, right? My buddy Bobby, who literally also didn't have any warehouse experience, I called him. I was like, "Hey man, I need extra hands. I don't know anything about this. You know, nor do you. Let's go have fun, hang out. I'll pay you some money, and we'll ship some boxes." And so we just had no idea what we were doing, and we shipped like 4 or 5 thousand boxes ourselves, and that taught me everything I needed to know about logistics management software, warehousing software, the carriers I should use, UPS versus FedEx, the different rates for different packages, how much this should cost versus does cost. And, then when I was interviewing logistics managers and inventory managers and 3PLs to warehouse and ship our stuff, I knew all the lingo, I knew what it was, and I knew what I was looking for. So,
See, I love this advice because I know that there's conflicting opinions about that out there where, delegate as soon as you have a problem, right? Bring
Yeah.
people on, free up your time, bring on somebody that's smarter than you. And I think that there's value in both, but you got to know when the time is right.
Their Venn diagram, both can be true. Both can be true and both can be true simultaneously. Hire someone for problem, delegate as soon as you can. I just don't think that you can until you understand the problem. So I think that both things are true. But if you try to hire someone before you really understand the function on like an intuitive level, when you interview that person, you're going to ask questions that are surface level, and you're going to get cake. This happened to me, and it's happened to other people that I've seen. It happens to almost every startup. You're going to get taken by people who can talk a big game, but who don't actually understand the function that they're talking about. And it happens to every single company, and they hire B players, and the A players don't want to work with B players. And then you have, so really, if you can understand things, all the better. So that's a big early one that I would advise is just the only advantage you have is time and energy. You can outwork people both in intensity and the amount of hours that you can spend in a day. And so, look, I mean, look, this is the shitty thing about starting a company. I'm not a hustle culture freak. I don't like the hustle culture stuff. I think that whenever I see that stuff on LinkedIn or Twitter, I think it's toxic when it's like, I didn't see my family this weekend, and that's why I outsold you this quarter. It's like, no, like, dude, like you're sick. You go talk to a therapist. Like, but early on in a company, truly all you have is time. And so you should fall asleep with your laptop on your stomach at 4 in the morning. And you should wake up at 7 a.m. after 3 hours of sleep and take pre-workout, is what I did. And, get going again, right? And you should work on weekends and you should work at night. And you probably will destroy a personal relationship, sad to say. Like you probably will like gain 30 pounds. Like it's not healthy to create something out of nothing, and it will like break you in many ways. So like go into this eyes wide open that it is very hard work, even if it's not the greatest risk like we talked about earlier. It is very hard work. And so yeah, I think that both when you are hiring and you want to hire yourself out of a problem, if you can leverage that advantage you have, which is doing things that don't scale and really spending your hours in your day, like, 16 hours in a day on this thing, like I think you can really do yourself a favor because you're going to hire people that really understand the problem because you're going to know exactly what you're interviewing for.
Yeah, those early years, you make a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
You pull back a lot. You become an introvert. You're head down in things. I've been there multiple times myself, and it's not fun, and also
Sucks.
and also somehow exhilarating at the same time.
Right.
Especially if you're a visionary, if you're really locked in with who you are and what you want, and you're very clear about your life goals and what this product or service can do. Like, staying connected to the why has always been really important for me. Like in those
So
moments where I'm questioning, what am I doing? Does anybody care? Is this ever going to get off the ground? I just lock back into, why am I doing this? Let me get up out of the trenches for a hot second and remember the big picture here. Because if you're too far down for too long, you'll burn out every aspect of
so let
yourself.
me ask you a question. So why are you doing this? What is your why? I'm curious. I mean, I think I know what it is, but what
Yeah.
reiterate it for the
I
audience. Yeah.
I love the question, and I appreciate you asking. I am doing this because the thing that keeps me up at night the most is watching people settle for
Wow.
a life that they don't love, settling for a job that sucks their soul out of their ass, settling for a relationship that demeans them, settling for societal expectations that just go against every aspect of who they are. When you make
Wow.
a when you make a gutsy move, you are choosing to no longer settle. You're getting really clear about who you are and what you want, and then you're being willing to take the steps to get it. That I will fucking stand on a mountaintop on that every single day.
Wow. I love that. That's an incredible mission. It's also it, like gave me goosebumps to hear you articulate it that way. Um, that's the thing about so it's interesting with Sheets and Giggles, and it's actually funny when I went through Techstars. So I actually went through Techstars again in 2019 with Sheets and Giggles, and I sat around the CEO circle and I asked every single CEO, the other nine CEOs, like, why are you doing this? Like what? And I specifically said, like, you could start a nonprofit, you could start a charity, like not your mission necessarily, but like why a business, right? And it was so funny. They all said a similar iteration of the same thing, which is I got tired of settling. Like in what they said was like I got tired taking orders from people I disagreed with. I got tired of, problems that I knew I could solve, but I didn't have the power to. I got problems, like it was so interesting to hear some different iteration of that. So I think that you're totally accurate in terms of like what your mission is to help people, launch themselves further. But yeah, I think it's fascinating that every entrepreneur is at their core is a bad employee, and they
Oh,
they
absolutely. Even in the darkest moments when I'm really questioning myself and I'm like, maybe if I just go back to work, it
no.
takes me about 30 seconds to realize that A, I'm a terrible employee, and B, it would take me about 3 days to come up with another company, right? Like it's just like get over it, Laura, get back in your lane, like do what you came here to do and keep moving forward. Something I find just incredibly fascinating about you and what you've built is I feel like what you have done as far as launching these businesses and scaling them and creating this revenue that's just phenomenal. It takes a lot of businesses years, if not decades, to get to that point.
Mm.
What are you doing differently, my sir?
I don't know. I guess I like, yeah, I mean the resume builder went from like zero to $40,000 in January. We did over 40 grand, like it was like 5 months. And so, like I with Sheets and Giggles, it was like zero, right? We shipped our first box in October 2018 to $1 million in a month, November 2020. And there's like a little bit of yada yada in there, right? Like, not the yada yada through the best parts. Like, I went through Techstars Boulder, I raised $1 million. Like, there's important things. $1 million is not a large amount of money, right? Like to spend on inventory and marketing and people, like it goes very fast. So like there's a bunch of answers to that question. The people I hire, the goals I set, why I set those goals, why I think they're achievable, how I articulate them, how I think about them, the way I break them down to like the branches of the goals, and then kind of like, like look, if you want to make $10,000 a day and you have $100 average order value, let's make it even more complicated. $100,000 a day and you have 150 average order value, right? You have to get 70 orders in order to get to $10,000 a day. Okay, great. I'm no longer thinking about $10,000 a day. I'm thinking about 70 orders. And if I can, my website converts at, call it 2%, not 3%, not 4%. I'm not doing great. I'm doing 2%. Okay. Then out of every 50 people that come to the website, one is going to convert. And I need 70 orders. So that means I need 3,500 visitors to come to my website. So now I'm not thinking about $10,000 a day or, $300,000 a month. Those are, or $3.6 million a year. Those are really big goals, right? Now I'm just thinking about, I need 3,500 visitors to come to my website tomorrow. So how do I get 3,500 visitors to come to my website tomorrow? Well, where do people spend their time? They spend their time on LinkedIn, on Reddit, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. Okay, why do they spend their time there? Well, on YouTube, it's to maybe learn something. On Facebook, it's maybe to yell at people. On Reddit, it's maybe to feel superior. On Twitter, it's probably to insult somebody. So you understand like what are people doing in these channels to spend their time? Why are they there? So then you start creating content for the channels that match why people are on those channels. You start to, speak authentically to people about what they want. On Reddit, I write really good, solid advice and thoughts, and I don't advertise anything. I just get, and then people are, if you get in early enough, people will upvote you, and then other people will be like, "Hey, this is the Sheets and Giggles guy. I love this guy. I love his sheets." We get like 5% of our revenue from Reddit, just people who are finding us through these comments. People that like, there's so much I could go into on this about like the way that, but the core thing is don't think about your goal as like this huge number over here that I really want to do. Think about it as like, okay, I need 3,500 visitors tomorrow. Shit, that's a lot of visitors. Well, maybe the problem is that my conversion rate's only 2%. Can I get that conversion rate to 3%? And then I would only need 2,100 visitors to my website. Can I get that conversion rate to 4%? And then I would actually only need like 1,700 visitors to my website. I don't know if I'm doing that quick math right. I'm usually pretty good at this, but it's early in the morning. No coffee yet today. But like those type of things are the way that I think about it. And then, further, like my AOV is $150. Can I get it to 160? Can I get it to 180? Can I get it to 190? Then I need fewer and fewer visitors, right? If I get my AOV up by 33%, I can get 1,000 fewer visitors to my store and hit my revenue goal. And then if I get even better than that, like all this stuff compounds on itself, and you have to think about each individual component of the problem. And then you, on a piece of paper, circle the component that is the core component. Like no matter what my conversion rate is, no matter what my AOV is, those are things that I can tweak over time and improve over time, right? And I'm going to try to do the best I can before I really turn on the gas. But at the end of the day, the amount of people coming to my website and learning about my brand and my company for the first time is all that matters. That's the big thing that I circle at the bottom of the page. And then my copy, my products, my reviews, my content, my images will convert people at a certain AOV. And that will get better and better and better over time. But right now I need eyeballs. And so like that's the major like that's really easy for people, I think, to break down for each of their products.
Well, and I like it because it focuses things. I think a lot of times as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we're trying to focus on too many things and then we get overwhelmed and then we kind of shut down, right? Or we dilute it, we're not putting enough energy into things and it just doesn't get off the ground. So
Well,
this
yeah, you every entrepreneur, how long is your to-do list today?
I mean it's ever evolving.
How many tabs do you have open on your computer right now? I mean, if you're like anything like me, I've got like 50 tabs open. My to-do list is from December. It's, 50 things long. I've already checked off 100 of them. And I just keep adding to it, right? And every few months, I'll make a new one titled today's date, and it's, never about today, right? And so that like there's always more to do, and it's really overwhelming. And so you just have to focus on like what is the singular most important task to achieve my goal. And maybe that's the sum up your question about what's different about me. I don't know. Like I have different gifts than other people. People have different gifts than me. Like, so I get so jealous by my friends that are like doing 10 times the revenue that I'm doing, or they have, a software business with 100% margin, or, they've raised $100 million and, like I have buddies that I'm so proud of, people that are working in government or, anyway, don't compare. That's a big tip, by the way, is don't compare yourself to other people because there's always somebody who's absolutely fucking crushing it relative to you. And you will never be happy, in comparison is the theft of joy. Never compare yourself to other people. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe to answer your question about what's different about me is goal task thinking. So that's actually the one thing I actually really think I benefited from going to work at Bridgewater to start my career, is they have a huge focus on goals versus tasks. And human beings get this confused all the time because the thing right in front of them they think is the goal, but it's not. Like the goal for Sheets and Giggles is build a profitable, growing, successful business. There's no number on that. There's no like, it's just build a profitable, growing, successful business. And every task that we do at the company can be changed or modified, thrown out the window if a better task comes along. And so that's actually why I'm a terrible coworker, is because being a terrible employee, people will give me a task, my boss, I haven't had in a while, thank God. And I will say, no, that's a bad task. I don't like that task. That task is not going to help us achieve our goal at this company. And they say, Colin, I don't care, do this task. And then that's what drives entrepreneurs crazy, is like, then you're like, oh my God, I'm wasting my time on this. I could be doing this other thing. So, um, when you're building a company, be really, really clear about what your goals are and about what your tasks are, and be incredibly passionate about your one or two big goals, and be incredibly dispassionate about every single task that you could do to achieve those goals. And that will help you select the optimal tasks in the optimal order to achieve your goal the fastest way possible. The speed at which I operate is really interesting. You kind of clued in on that. That part of that is like, if somebody's working on something at my company and I don't think it's a good idea for them to keep working on it, I will call them on the phone and be like, hey, I just realized it's not a good thing. We shouldn't be working on this. We should change this. And, I'll get a groan, and I'll get like you know, probably should have thought about this, ahead of time. Like, yeah, totally. Doesn't matter. I don't want you to waste any more time on it. And, and we'll pivot to something. So our Google Drive is like littered with a slew of never launched projects. So, but it's how you go from zero to launching a mattress in a few years, and it's ridiculous. So yeah,
Ever evolving, ever pivoting, ever refining.
yeah. No, don't be upset if you have to drop something halfway through. It just means you found something better.
That's true. Gosh, the willingness to be able to let go of something and early on
Ooh,
is a craft that I recommend for everyone to master because you just save yourself so much time, money, and headache.
ooh, sunk cost fallacy. People love their tasks. People love it. They get so attached to it. It's like this little thing. And I'm gonna see it through and complete it all the way. And it's like, no, just if it's not working, or just get rid of it.
So there's a personal it makes you feel accomplished, right?
Mm,
It's like your own little pat on the back. It's validation. That's the word I'm looking for. It's personal validation.
yeah, yeah. Some people like that. I don't like that.
You're like, nah, I'm good.
I'm like, nah. I got.
Roll tape, keep going.
I mean, for me, I'm like, hey, I've got 3 hours of free time every day. I mean, I spend plenty of time with my wife, and like she goes to bed at 10 o'clock. And then at like 10 through 2 a.m. is like my time, right? To like do what I want. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, all right, I guess I'll like build this entire other product that's like a resume builder. And then like, oh, I'll give it away. You know what I'll do as customer acquisition? I'll give it away for free to anyone who asks for it, because job hunts are an incredibly stressful and anxious time. And if I give it away to people, I charge $99 for a lifetime membership. I don't do subscriptions. I think that's predatory in this industry. And so we do 99 bucks for a lifetime subscription. And I say, and if you cannot afford that, please email me and I will give it to you for free. And I get dozens of people who email me every day for free. And the beautiful thing about a software product is that it's close to zero marginal cost. It's not 100, but it's close. So I give it away to them for free. Now I've got a dozen brand ambassadors every day going out there who have just been let go or laid off, or quit their job. They probably know 10 other people who have just been let go or laid off or quit their job. They're probably active in online communities that are talking about job hunting. And now they are going out and they're telling people, you got to go to sheetsresume.com. This guy gave it to me for free. It totally changed my resume. The cover letter tool is awesome. The mock interviews helped me. And then the people who are buying the product feel really fucking good about buying the product, because I say that your paid memberships are what enable me the financial flexibility to pay to give away this product for free to all these people who need it. And so those two things, like that, anyway, now I'm just promoting and rambling on about my resume builder, but like it's so fun to do that. And I think that, like, the extra hours in the day and like finding that time, if you're listening to this and you're like, God, that sounds fun, or like, I had that energy or whatever, or if you're listening to this and you're like, God, that sounds exhausting, I don't want that at all, like, the reaction that you're having right now probably is the direction that you should go. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and a good segue into you've got some really great offers for the audience. So tell them rather
yeah.
what you're doing for us today.
So I cannot give the sheets away for free because they are not a zero marginal cost product. They're actually extremely expensive to make, and they're luxurious and lovely. But if you do want a set of eucalyptus sheets, or you want to try our hybrid mattress, which is also made from plant-based material, natural latex, and recycled steel coils. Or if you'd like to, try our duvet cover, comforters, we have wonderful products at sheetsgiggles.com. And then for our resume builder, you can use code GUTSY for 20% off a lifetime membership. The $79, you can use unlimited resumes, cover letters, mock interviews. We have a job board as well. Or, like I said a second ago, if you are job hunting, you don't have that extra income and you can't part with that money, again, please email me, Colin at sheetsresume.com. And I'm happy to give it away for free. I do it every day for anyone who asks. So really gets me out of bed in the morning, which is hard to do on account of the sheets. So
Oh, see, it's just slide a little bit of brand tone right in there. I see what
yeah,
you did.
stick the landing.
I love
Yeah,
it.
sure. Yeah.
Colin, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I could have coffee with you for the rest of the day. I'd love to know, what does the word gutsy mean to you?
The word gutsy to me is just like recognizing that. Sorry, this is going to get super odd for a second. I told my wife this on our wedding vows. My wife reminds me that how special it is that we get to come alive and experience the universe for this brief moment in time, right? And our atoms, the nitrogen in us, the carbon, the oxygen, like all these atoms have combined in this particular order to, at this one moment, where you're for 80 years, you're able to experience the universe in like an intelligent way that is a human being. And your atoms then go somewhere else. Some of them go into your children, right? And then you reincarnate literally into your kids and you live on, right? You're a never-ending string of life. You've been alive for 3.8 billion years. You've never not been dead since life existed on Earth. You're always the creature that won for the last, several billion years. I think that's beautiful. At the same time, who you are right now will completely dissipate and disappear one day, and your atoms will go somewhere else, and they go into the trees, and they'll go into the grass, and they'll go into other animals, into the water, into the rivers, into the oceans, and they'll recycle and they'll recombine somewhere else. So I think being gutsy is about recognizing that you have this one opportunity to do something and you can just do things. And I know that that's kind of like a weird trigger thing for like the bros in Silicon Valley about like taking control over the world, but like no, you can just do things and live your life the way that you want to. There are no rules. The beautiful thing about the society we built is that you can have all the ambiguity that you want and you get to decide how you live your life. So people who are gutsy are people who live their fucking lives the way that they want to, and they're not going to live and die by somebody else's shitty rules that they were born into. And you can do whatever you want. And people who realize that are gutsy.
Something that Colin really, really reminded me about today is that we get to make this easy. I know I say it all the time, let it be easy. But especially if you're in the beginning of something or you're looking to grow or you're shifting things around, things can get really big and complicated very quickly. When we focus on the things that matter the most and we put all of our effort into that, then we can make such a big change in a substantially shorter period of time. I'd love to know what stood out to you today. So what reminder did Colin give you? What aha moment did you have? Come connect with me. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. My handle is @thatlauraora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.